Okay, hi everyone. Thank you for joining. In this online tutorial, what we're going to be working through is how you should approach your written assignment. So obviously, we no longer have a mid-trimester exam, and this is because the government has enacted a number of different rules surrounding COVID-19 about isolation and distancing. And so in order for us to work in accordance with that, we have now created a written assignment. And this written assignment is 1,000 words. And the good thing about this written assignment is you can do it over time and submit it on its due date. So, a couple of important points when it comes to this assignment. First thing is, how do you find all the information about the assignment? So, I have emailed out a whole bunch of information. So, first port of call, check your emails. Second thing is you need to go onto the Learning at Griffith site. So, what I've got here is our Learning at Griffith page for 1805 NRS, Human Anatomy and Physiology 1. In this page, what you can do is go to assessment. So when you go into this assessment tab, it's going to take you to all the different assessment items we have for the course. So you've probably accessed this before, which is great, but you'll see a couple of changes. So the changes we have here, well, we still have the online quizzes, no changes, still worth 20%, and there is an online quiz available this week, but I will talk to you about that later. We still have the end of trimester exam in the end of trimester exam period. However, the exam will likely be online and will likely be 100% multiple choice. But again, we've got a good number of weeks until we approach that. So I'll tell you more information once the university gives me a little bit more information. But we're going to talk about this written assignment. So it's still worth 30%, just like the mid-trimester exam. It's still marked out of 50, just like the mid-trimester exam. The great thing here is we have a resubmit option. So for students who submit this assignment and fail this assignment, they have an opportunity to resubmit an assignment to try and get a passing grade. Now the assignment is due on Monday of week 8, which is the 20th of April at 5 p.m. So the mid-trimester exam was actually on the Saturday of week 7, which is the 18th of April. So a couple of extra days here. Now, as we scroll down, you can go to written assignment, and written assignment, if you click on that, takes you to what we call the task description. So this tells you exactly what the assignment's about. I will go through this in a second, but as we scroll down, something important. So a couple of students are asking me about what their assignment topic is. So I have emailed out the assignment topics, and basically the way it works is this. If your surname begins with A to M, your assignment topic is the heart. If your surname begins with N to Z, your assignment topic is the respiratory tract. So that's pretty much how it works. It's really important that you understand which assignment topic you have. A to M, the heart, N to Z, the respiratory tract. Now, what does this mean? What is the assignment? So here you can click on this PDF and this takes you to the assessment topic and the marking criteria. So if we were to open that up, I've got it right here on this particular document. All right, so a couple of things. Let's go through this assessment item. It's 1,000 words, so that's the word limit. I don't want any less than 800 words. So I want it to be around about, if I can get this pen working, 800 to 1,000 words. It's weighted 30%. Its due date is the 20th of April, which is a Monday at 5 p.m. What do we want in this assignment? So the aim of this assignment is to apply the knowledge you have developed from material covered in weeks 1 to 5. So remember what we went through in weeks 1 to 5. It was the intro to A&P. So this is medical terminology, for example. We went through pH, buffers, but really importantly, homeostasis. We also went through cells, and we also went through tissues of the body. Remember the 4 different tissue types of the body. 4 different tissue types: epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscle tissue, and nervous tissue. Now you can see here, you will have the opportunity to discuss your understanding of how the structure and function of those 4 tissue types of the body interact to maintain an overall function within a specific organ or body system. So again, if you are A to M, you're doing this on the heart. If you are N to Z, you are doing this on the respiratory tract. So basically what you need to do is, let's just say your topic is the heart. You need to identify, when it comes to the heart, where those 4 tissue types lay what their structure is, and how they work together to have an overall function for the heart. All right? Same thing happens with the respiratory tract. Now I said respiratory tract, so you can choose anywhere from the trachea down to the lung tissue itself. You can choose anywhere you like and identify how those 4 different tissue types work together structurally to have an overall function. That's so important. Further, you'll examine how dysfunction of 2 of these tissue types disrupts overall homeostasis. All right, so the instructions here. You'll be allocated by email. Well, I have sent an email, so you've got that, but also you can just go to the Learning at Griffith page, what your topics are. Like I said, A to M, it's the heart, or if it's N to Z, your surname, it's going to be respiratory tract. Now, here are the 2 different, A and B here is what I want you to address, right? So I don't mind if you do headings for these 2, that's cool. So you can do heading A, and the question I want you to answer is this: identify how the structure of each of the 4 tissue types contributes to the overall function of, let's just say, the heart, for example. So that's your first topic, and I only want it to really be around about 500 words. So that's around about a page, a little bit less than a page. Okay? So that means what you're going to be doing is you're going to be talking about epithelia of the heart. You're going to be talking about connective tissue of the heart. You're going to be talking about nervous tissue of the heart. You're going to be talking about muscle tissue of the heart. And you're going to talk about how do all these interact to produce an overall function. All right? So, for example, we know that with epithelia, there's many different types: simple squamous, stratified squamous, simple cuboidal. What type does the heart have? We know for connective tissue, there's many different types. What type does the heart have? When we look at nervous tissue, what type of neurons are present in the heart and how do they work to have an overall function? And what type of muscle tissue? Remember, there's 3 types of muscle tissue. I think for cardiac it's easy because it's going to be cardiac muscle tissue. So you're going to talk about the different types of tissue for the heart and how they all work together for the overall function. Brilliant. The next part you're going to answer is discuss how dysfunction of 2 of these tissue types. So you can choose. You can either choose something goes wrong with the epithelia, or something goes wrong with the connective tissue, or nervous tissue, or muscle tissue. You have to choose 2 of them and talk about how dysfunction of 2 of these alters homeostasis. So for example, remember, what's one of the homeostatic mechanisms of the heart? Well, it's to pump blood around the body. So how can dysfunction into 2 of these affect that homeostatic balance? That's all you got to do, all right? Now, as we move down, now I'm just going to quickly check the chat. That's the wrong chat. Let's quickly get this chat up. All right, no questions so far. So hopefully everybody can hear me. See how we go with this. Once it's loaded. Does anybody have any questions so far? Okay, so once we're in here, what you're going to find is the other elements to this essay. So a couple of things that you need to do. Please review the marking criteria prior to submitting your report. Now, at the bottom of this document is the marking criteria. So if we keep scrolling down, here's the marking criteria. This is what I need you to address. You can see if you want to get full marks here, you need to, the first part, outline the specific structures of each of the 4 tissue types within the organ system. You need to just correctly outline those structures. That's it. So make sure you keep going through this marking guide. So that's the first part there. Second part is you may use your anatomy and physiology textbooks, all right, and I should say, relevant journal articles as reference. So here, clinical key is going to be super helpful for you. Now you may say, what is clinical key? And I want to show you what clinical key actually is. So if you go onto the Griffith University page, page and you go into the library. In the library page, a couple of things you can find. So scroll down and go to borrowing and resources, or resources and borrowing, and you click on that. As we scroll down from that, you can see health as a topic. So click on health. Obviously nursing fits within that quite nicely. And clinical key right here on the right hand side. Clinical key is what I want you to access. This is going to be the easiest and best way for you to get information and to reference. Okay, so logging into clinical key. If you're using the VPN, that's even better. The university VPN, you can download and access this. Otherwise, it'll probably ask you to sign in. That's fine. Now, a couple of things here. So let's just say your topic is the heart. What type of information do you want to look for? Well, to answer that first question, you want to look at the layers of the heart and the different types of tissues. So why don't we just type in, see what happens, layers of the heart. Let's see what comes up. So we type in layers of the heart. The other thing that I should have told you is once you do that, up here all time, so on the left-hand side, just click on books. So books here, that's all we want, right? Once you do that. All right, now you can see here, we've clicked on books. Okay, there's a nice one here that says layers of the heart. Let's click on that. And what you may find here is some information that may help you for your assignment. If your topic is heart, for example. Now you just do the same with the respiratory tract. So, what do we have? The 3 layers that constitute the heart wall. This is a good start. Endocardium, myocardium, epicardium. The endocardium is simple squamous epithelium. Look at that. I've already answered one part of your question. So now, so you read this, you get the information you need. You don't want to copy it verbatim because you will lose marks. That is copying. We don't want to copy. You need to read it, write it down, put it into your own words. You also must reference. Now, how do you reference? Couple ways. I use EndNote. So instead of doing it by hand, which I think is a very dodgy way of doing it, I suggest using something called EndNote. Now, how do you access it? I recommend everyone for the future of all your assignments should be using EndNote. So go to the Griffith website. You can go into this little search bar here and just type in EndNote. Now, this is going to help you with all your assignments because you don't have to then worry about whether you've done your referencing properly. It's really important. Referencing software. Here you go. So click on referencing software. As we scroll down, you can go to download, instructions on accessing software for download. I'd click on that. And there's instructions for staff and instructions for students. So follow these instructions here to download EndNote, and it's going to save you so much time, I promise. See what questions I have. Questions, if we fail and resubmit, how much time after will we be given for the next resubmission? You have around about 5 days. I will give you more information on that, but I think after I give you feedback and tell you that if you haven't passed, you get 5 days. I've tried searching for nerve in the heart, but I've found no information. There is plenty. Follow the clinical key aspect. Heaps of information. The respiratory system, do we focus on one part, not the whole system? You can I recommend choosing one part, maybe choose the bronchioles or the bronchi or the lung tissue itself. Can you use Google? You can use Google, but you can't reference Google. A dysfunction of the cardiac muscle, could that be lack of calcium in the muscle, stopping the muscles from contracting? Maybe, it's up to you what you choose. Hi Mike, just wondering, are we required to do an introduction and conclusion? No, you are not. This is a brief report, not an essay. No introduction or conclusion required. Are we talking specifically about the body system that the organ belongs to? No, like I said, you're just focusing on that topic that I've given you. Could you please repeat again, resources, information, clinical key is the way to go. I'll show you that again in a sec. Yes, journal articles. Wouldn't let me download EndNote. Well, you need to contact IT. I can't help you with that. Did you say Griffith has a VPN? Yes, type that into the Griffith search bar and you'll be able to find the VPN that you can use. Keep asking me questions. Let's get back to here. Once you've downloaded EndNote, what I recommend you do is you open EndNote. Okay, now what you'll have is different authorships. Now, I need you to use APA 7th. I haven't updated my EndNote. So the most recent APA I have is APA 6th edition. So we're just going to use that at the moment. So this is how easy it is, right? How easy it is. I'm going to open up a Word document. This is going to be my references for actually, let's just say I'm going to type a sentence. So let's just say something like the inside lining of the heart is called the endocardium. If I could spell, that would be better. Is called the endocardium. Now, I don't know that I just don't know that. This is something I had to read to get the information, so I must reference it. So I go to the end of that sentence, like I've done there. So space before the full stop. And what I do is I got to go to here and I want to reference it. So here in the top right hand corner, you go to export citation. That's what we want. Click on that. You can see RIS is for EndNote, so you click on that. Click export. It downloads the reference for you. Click on that once you've got EndNote. The file does not have an app associated with it. Unfortunately, EndNote is not working for me. Let's see if I can open up Word here. Okay, I've got EndNote now. Let's see if this works now. If not, it will work with yours, so don't stress. EndNote. So I've just chosen EndNote there. Okay, there we go. So what's now happened is it will take that download and it will put it into EndNote for you. Look at that. So that is the reference. So you click on that reference. You can go back into your Word document. You go to the end here and see how it's got cite while you write. Brilliant. Insert citation, even better. Click that. And if that doesn't work properly for you, that's okay, don't stress. So you can get out of that. You can go to the end, go into EndNote itself, and you can actually insert it from here. If I can find where it is. Insert citation. There we go. Those little comments. So I press that, and what it does is it inserts the citation for me. So you don't have to do it by hand. I know that this seems a little bit time consuming to begin with, but once you've done it, it makes things easy. So look what you've done. You've now got APA format there where it should be, and you've now got the beginning of your reference list right there. It's done the whole thing for you, and it will do it consistently. So all you need to do is write references. Now, your reference list needs to be on its own page, okay? And let me tell you where that's stated. We go back here, you can see that reference list should start on its own page. There's going to be marks associated with that. Easy marks, reference list, new page. Now these in-text references, for example, that's the in-text reference. That's included in the 1,000 word count, okay? But this references here, your bibliography, will not be included in the 1,000 word count. All right? Don't use quotations. When you do this type of report, quotations are not required. You don't quote what comes out of a journal article unless it's something somebody has actually said themselves, and you're not going to be writing any of that. So I don't want to see any quotations. You may use headings. It's probably best if you do. And the heading should just be this A, identify how the structure of each blah, 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 and B, and just answer those questions below. Use third person, so don't use me or I. and use the appropriate academic language. That means use the medical terminology we've gone through over the first couple of weeks. Now, this assignment will be submitted via Turnitin. So there will be a Turnitin page on the Learning at Griffith site available for you to submit when that submission date is coming closer. And I will send you more information about that. A great thing here is I've actually written a practice assignment, an example assignment that you can have a look at to sort of figure out how should you approach it. You can see I've put my topic here. Now, I didn't use the topic heart or respiratory tract. I chose the stomach here because I didn't want to do the assignment for you. And you can see I've put a title up here. Great. And this is me answering the first part. Now, because this is an example, it's an abridged version. It's shorter, okay? But you can see I've spoken about epithelial tissue of the stomach, connective tissue, nervous tissue, and muscle tissue of the stomach. I've spoken about its structure all throughout, and I've spoken about how it works together for a function. That's what you need to do for the first part. For the second part, I spoke about how two or more can be disrupted. Now, I think in this one, because it's an abridged version, I only spoke about one tissue being disrupted, and I think it was the epithelial tissue. And I said how it disrupts homeostasis of digestion. And there's my reference list. All right. Now, I said it may contain some errors because I think I used APA 6 in this, but remember, you need to use APA 7th edition. All right. Now, as we move through the marking criteria, let's first see if there's any more questions that I can answer for you. No more questions? All right. So as we move through the marking criteria. So outline. So this is how I'm going to be, and your markers will attribute marks. So for section A, which is basically the first question, right? Normal structure and function for tissue types, it's worth 20 marks. Section B, also worth 20 marks. Now this is worth 50 marks overall, all right? What you need to do to get full marks for part A is you outline the correct structures of all the 4 tissue types. So you need to talk about connective tissue, epithelial tissue, muscle tissue, nervous tissue. You need to talk about them. You need to talk about their correct structures. If you do that appropriately, you will get 10 marks. Then, if you outline the specific function of each, so not just structure, but now you do function of each and how they work together, you'll get another 10 marks. That's 20 marks. Then as we move down, you need to talk about how disruption of these tissues lead to homeostasis changes. So if you outline dysfunction of 2 tissues correctly and how this dysfunction comes about, 10 marks. If you then link these 2 tissue dysfunctions to problems with homeostasis, 10 marks. Okay? So just follow this marking guide and you'll get all the points you need. Now, presentation, worth 6 marks overall. So if you stick within 800 to 1,000 words, you get a mark. If your writing is clear and concise, you get a mark. If you use the appropriate academic language, you get a mark. If you have a reference list on a new page, you get a mark. If you present it nicely, correct spelling, grammar, well constructed, you get 2 marks. So that's an easy 6 marks for you, I think. Now, referencing. If you use EndNote and you use APA Style 7th, there's no reason why you won't get the 2 full marks here. Then, make sure that you use a minimum of 4 references. Minimum of 4. If you do a minimum of 4 references and you cite it where it needs to. So I don't want you to put a whole bunch of information and then you've got no reference for it. Because where did you get it from? It didn't come from your brain. It would have come from somebody or some article or some textbook. If I read it and I see that needs a reference, you won't get the mark. So make sure you reference all the information that you put out and you can get the 4 full marks. Again, for a total of 50%. Let's see if there's any questions so far. Can we get access to this live video later? Yes, absolutely. I will upload this live video for you. You can watch it a million times if you like. So I think that's a lot of information to go through. I will be giving you more information as we move through. A couple of take-home points. Let's write this down. Take-home points are this. So What's your topic? That's the first question. You need to figure that out. What's your topic is the first one. It's either going to be heart or respiratory tract. Next thing you need to do is read the task description. That's what I just went through. I emailed it to you and it's on the Learning at Griffith page. All right. Next thing you need to do, download EndNote. EndNote will save your life. You don't have to have it, but it minimizes any errors. It'll be so useful for you. Next thing is, get used to searching Clinical Key. Clinical Key via the library is so helpful. And remember to look in books. Journal articles will be too complex for this. Just use the textbooks in Clinical Key and your prescribed textbook. All right. Use your headings A and B and do a maximum of 500 words for each. All right. Total of 1,000 words. The due date is going to be the 20th of April at 5 p.m. Now, if something happened, look, this is hard times at the moment with COVID-19, government changes, school may be closing shortly, all these different changes that are happening. Obviously, this is going to impact a lot of us and it already has impacted a lot of us. If you need an extension, you need to apply for the extension through the appropriate extension portal. Let me show you how to access the extension portal. You just go into the Griffith site, go to that Search Our Site button up there, type in extension. Now, if you type in extension, click search, information is going to come up. Assignment extension. If you follow the instructions via the assignment extension and you think that you are eligible for an extension for your assignment, please feel free to submit that extension. It may ask you to attach some documentation, but in these trying times, we are going to be extremely lenient. Okay, so read all this information applying for an assignment extension. No problems whatsoever. Now, I'm going to leave it there. I will upload this. A couple of other questions. When is this due again? Read the topic. It's due at 5 p.m. on the 20th, Monday, week 8, 20th of April. And if you want to ask any other questions, feel free to use the Facebook page. Feel free to send me an email. Otherwise, I'll speak to you all really soon. Thank you all again. See ya.